What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of The Real Housewives of Potomac Season 7 Reunion Part 1. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Ashley. So Ashley has moved out of the condo or the high-rise that she was living in with Michael, and now she has moved into her new house, which I think she said the mortgage itself was $13,000 per month. She tells us that Michael has a key to her new place. She said that in case of an emergency, for the children, blah, 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 he needs to be able to come into the home. Girl, what? There are millions of couples all over the world who are divorced and do not have keys to each other's homes. The reason that you gave was ridiculous. Come on, Ashley. Can you, for once in your life, be honest with us when it comes to your relationship with Michael Darby? The truth of the matter is this man is paying $13,000 per month of the mortgage of that home. So he feels like this is my home too. So yes, I will have a key. And yes, I will be coming and going as I please. And yes, I will be ruining your love life, because if I'm not going to have you all to myself, not like he really wanted her in that way, it's just, I think he sees Ashley as his property. And so if I can't have you all to myself for me to do whatever I want to do with, then no one else is going to have you like that. So I am going to have a key to your home, and I'm going to come and go as I please. It's got nothing to do with the children, and if there's an emergency, he has to be able to come in. Girl, stop. Nobody's buying that story. Nobody's buying that mess. It's just, we all know what it is. Okay, he still owns you and controls you post marriage. They talk about Michael not respecting her boundaries because she had to break up with Luke due to that whole lack of respect of her boundaries. She gave us the story that Michael was supposed to drop off the children. He had the kids and he was supposed to bring them back on a Sunday. He brought them back a day early, and when he brought them back, Luke was with her. And I'm pretty sure Michael knew, because I'm pretty sure Ashley told him. He probably texted her and was like, hey, what are you doing? Who's there with you? And she probably told him that her boyfriend Luke was there. And so then he decided to bring the kids back at that time because he wanted to ruin her night. It's so calculated and so planned. If we could see it, I'm not sure why Ashley couldn't see it. But anyways, so because of his lack of respect of her boundaries, Luke couldn't take it, because when he dropped off the children a day early, Luke had to leave because she didn't feel comfortable with Luke being around her kids because it was a new relationship, so on and so forth. Okay, but my question is this. I totally understand protecting your children against someone who is new to your life. But Ashley, you were there. And why couldn't he? How else is he going to be able to get to know the children if he's never ever around them? So obviously, either Michael wanted to come over and stay with Ashley that night and Luke had to leave, or Michael told her Luke had to leave. But her reasoning about how, because it's a new relationship and I didn't feel comfortable having him around my kids. But girl, you're there with your children, and he didn't have to stay the whole night. He could have stayed a little bit longer, met your children, and then he could have left. So I don't buy that reason either. When it comes to lying, Mia still has her beat, but Ashley is a very close second. So the prenuptial debacle. So she got nothing out of her divorce settlement, she says. The prenup left her with absolutely nothing. There is a clause there that says something about if she's ever in a financial situation where she's like completely destitute or something, he is allowed to, or he has the option of, or he's ordered to give her money if she's ever in a situation where she has no money at all. Whatever that means. It sounds so convoluted. I don't know how truthful that is. So she got no alimony. She is gonna be getting child support, and the whole thing about money. Obviously, when it comes to marital property, whatever you came into the marriage with is considered your own separate property. And she says that the reason why the income that he generated during their marriage, she is not entitled to receive it, is because that income that he generated stemmed from income that he brought into the marriage with. So the money that he came into the marriage with, his own personal money, his own separate money, he used that money to invest in certain projects, and then the income that generated from those projects are still his own because they originated from the separate property or the separate money that he came into the marriage with. I'm not a divorce attorney. I'm not an attorney of any type. So whatever. I'm not here to debunk that. It does have a ring of truth to it, but I'm just wondering to myself, with other wealthy people, when they come into a marriage with money and that money generates additional income, does it work the same? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, but like I said, I'm not here to debunk that. I'm not an attorney, so I can't say one way or the other. So they talked about Ashley having to eat her words to Candace when she criticized Candace for having her mother take care of her. And now she's in a situation where Michael Darby was taking care of her and is still taking care of her. So does she regret saying what she said to Candace? Of course, Ashley's going to... No, she did apologize. She did apologize to Candace, saying that, yes, she was sorry for saying that. So now Candace is a whole lot better off because she does have her own income. Her mother is no longer supporting her. Her husband also works. And, like I said, she also has her own income. Whereas Ashley is still very much dependent on the teat of Michael Darby. Now, my question is this. Ashley, everybody's talking about how you completely fumbled the bag when it came to walking away from this marriage with practically nothing other than child support. Which is true, because you put up with a lot with this man. You have put up with so much with this man. You defended him when it came to the allegations that were brought up against him, the charges that were brought up against him, the things that people were saying about him. You defended him, you defended him, you defended this man. And he is actually going to sit there and watch you walk away from this marriage without a damn penny. This is the man that you defended, Ashley, and it's perfectly okay with him to see you leave this marriage of however many years you were together. You gave him 2 children. You put up with public humiliation. You swallowed your pride and your dignity to defend this man, to stand by this man. And he's going to watch you leave this marriage with nothing, and he's perfectly okay with that. There's something going on here with the Darbys that I'm really not understanding. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it, but something about the Darbys and the way they handle their situation is very suspicious to me. So... another thing, her last name. They asked her, are you going to change your last name back to your maiden name? And she said she's going to keep her name because she wants to have the same name as her children. That is totally understandable. Many divorced women do that. I totally get it. If I was in that same situation, I would do the same thing. I would keep my name so that my children can have so I can have the same last name as my children. I totally understand that. But in this situation, because I think that Ashley is a bit on the shady side, I think she's keeping the Darby name because it's got notoriety to it. This is the name that has brought her fame. It's connected to a powerful man. I think that's the real reason why she's keeping the last name of Darby. But there's just something about her and Michael and the way that they do things. I feel like they may be divorced, but I think that there's still some shenanigans going on between them. And I just don't understand how you can allow your ex-husband to have a key to your place. Ashley, it's time to be a grown-up woman. It's time to be an adult woman and let go of Michael and his money and try to make a name for yourself. You're intelligent, you're attractive, you're on a reality TV show that has been a success. You've got what it takes to make your own name and make your own money, because the fact that you are no longer married to this man, but he can still hold so much power over you, it's pathetic. Let's move on to Mia the liar. They talk about her health issues. Of course, she was putting 20 on 10 when she wanted people to think that she was dying of cancer. It was just, she was doing the most. She was doing a lot. I understand that. Even myself, I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt until I realized, okay, this woman is just really full of it. She knew herself that there was no that the chances of her having cancer was very, very slim to none, but she presents it to the world as she was on death's door. Now, showed a clip during the reunion. They showed a clip of her going to her doctor's appointments and whatnot, and Gordon was with her, and Gordon had said something to Mia about, well, you interpreted the doctor as telling you that you had some deadly disease. That's how you interpreted. So in other words, even Gordon knew the what's up. He knew that Mia was putting 20 on 10, that the doctors never ever told her or made her believe that she was dying or that she had some type of a terminal illness. But the way that she was interpreting things in her feeble mind, she wanted to believe, or she wanted to act like she believed that she was dying, because Gordon called her own husband called her out on it. He was like, well, that's how you interpreted it, but that's not exactly what the doctor said. They talk about Wendy and how she, was, how she came across as being kind of two-faced or being kind of like a liar, when in her face she was, trying to give Mia the benefit of the doubt and got on Robin's case for not believing Mia. But then as soon as she walked away from Mia, she was caught on a hot mic calling Mia a liar. So Wendy said that she did apologize for this in real time, and they showed whatever she posted on her social media of her saying sorry about that. But my thing is this, what was the point? And I like Wendy, okay? I do adore Wendy. But what was the point of Wendy trying to call... okay, now I see what the point is. She was just using Wendy as ammunition against Robin. Because I was going to ask, what was the point of Wendy going so hard for Mia if she really didn't believe Mia? Why would she even, make that extra effort to defend Mia? But it really wasn't about Mia and her lies. It was really about using Mia to try to fight against Robin, because Robin was the one that was doubting Mia. And then Wendy stepped in and was like, how can you doubt her? If she says this is what's going on with her, you should give her the benefit of the doubt. Why would you accuse her of lying? But she really was just trying to, get back at Robin. Now I get it. So I forgive you, Wendy. Moving on to Mia's businesses, or lack thereof. So Mia, she's just... the truth ain't in her. Her explanation of why her and Gordon were iced out of the business and the business accounts, it made no sense. When she thought that she was sounding very intelligent and that she was really, shedding some light on something, absolutely not. It was just a whole bunch of bogus, hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. She knew she was lying. She felt like she was lying, and that's why she started talking louder. And that's why she was like, well, I'm just not going to talk anymore if y'all are going to make a joke about it. Well, they're making a joke about it because you're making a joke about it, because you're a liar, Mia. Nobody believes you. The truth is not in you. So when she was giving her explanations about why she and Gordon were no longer part of the business, or why they lost their share of the business, in a way, you can kind of feel that secondhand embarrassment when you see someone. Obviously, you could tell that she herself didn't even believe what she was saying. You could tell that she herself felt like she was floundering on national television as she was giving this bogus explanation. The truth of the matter is, Mia was never a CEO of anything. She was never a boss lady of anything. They probably gave her and Gordon a tiny share of this business, this chiropractic business. They fumbled the bag. They were misusing the funds. Even Giselle called it out as them embezzling, possibly, allegedly, maybe embezzling. And so maybe that's what was going on. They were completely mishandling the money. And so the brothers were like, you know what, we're going to have to nip this in the bud, because these people are going to leave us all broke and destitute. So let's go ahead and ice them out, cut them off the business accounts, and that's that. And that's what happened. She was not a majority shareholder of anything other than the BS that is coming out of her mouth. She was not the CEO of anything. She was walking around acting as if, she was like 65, 70%, 80% shareholder of all those clinics. I think it's called The Joint. Acting like she was really, girl, it was not. It was all smoke and mirrors. It was all smoke and mirrors. It was just for the show. She couldn't run a lemonade stand, let alone several clinics, because it was always very doubtful. Like, how did this woman who, was a dancer, and I'm not saying that dancers don't have the wherewithal to run businesses, but I'm talking about Mia Thornton specifically. How does she come from the life of a dancer to all of a sudden owning, all of these clinics across the nation? Like, how does that happen? How does that work? Because she did not give off any semblance of intelligence when she was on this show. There's nothing about her that I could look at and be like, oh, she really is that boss, No, I can look at Candy Burris. I can look at Kenyon Moore and see some, especially with Candy Burris. I can look at Candy Burris and yeah, she definitely does have a business mind. It totally makes sense. And you can tell that she's heavily involved in her businesses, that she does control she does control the majority of her businesses. She just gives off boss vibes. Mia never did. She never ever did. She did not seem like someone who'd be running, a corporation like The Joint and all of these franchises and it just did. Anyways, let's move on. So then they talk about her home. So she no longer lives in the home that we saw on the show in Potomac, which she was renting because all of these housewives, or the majority of these housewives, all they do is rent. So she no longer lives in that home. They can no longer afford it. So now she's living somewhere else, another rental property. And I guess because she doesn't want to be seen as someone who is not able to own any type of property, she thinks that she was really flexing when she talked about how they rent several properties. That just shows how stupid you are with your money. Why in the world, if you have that kind of money to rent several properties, why don't you just own a few or just own one or two? And like actually, and use that, like that's an actual investment. That is something that you can get something out of if you actually own your own property. But you're renting several properties. You're just throwing money away, making somebody else richer as you get more and more broke. Like it didn't make any sense to me. So they asked her, why do you rent so many properties? And she says, because I want to be bi-coastal. And all of her properties are on the same coast, which is the East Coast. Maybe she thinks because they're on different locations of the coast, that makes it bi-coastal. Mia's stupid and she's a liar, and I really don't see the purpose of her being on this show, because we understand that we have to stretch the imagination a little bit when we're watching reality TV. We understand that there is going to be some type of embellishments. We understand that these people are not real friends in real life, because Candace and Ashley will never meet up for lunch. That would never happen in real life. So we understand that scenes are created, situations are created. I think that the reactions are real for the most part. The way they feel about one another is real for the most part, but we understand that some things have to be stretched just a little bit for the sake of drama. But Mia Thornton walks in as a whole entire lie, as a whole entire contradiction. What is the point of having her on this show? Nothing about her is the truth. Not only does she lie about her own personal life, which we're not going to be able to really verify on our own. We would need people in her real life to verify for us, like the brothers. Gordon's brothers are verifying that Mia didn't run a damn thing and they're broke. But she also lies about things on camera, things that can be played back and thrown back in her face. She lies about things that people have said, things that people have done, things that she herself has said or not said. Just a blatant lie. And she does this for attention. And she's a pathological liar. And the scariest thing about it all is that when they asked her, do you have any regrets about anything that you did this season? She says, no, I have no regrets. And that's very, very scary, because she should have had regrets on how she treated Wendy, the things that she did to Wendy, the things that she said about Chris, being a part of that whole entire storyline, blatantly lying about Chris, ogling her or looking at her a certain kind of way, contributing to that whole falsehood, that whole false narrative. She's got several things to be ashamed of, and she has the audacity to get on that camera and say, no, I have no regrets about anything. That's a very, very scary person. Moving on to Candace. Obviously, we all know that Candace owned that stage. The reads, the comebacks, the responses, everything she did was on point. She put everybody in their place. She went against... It's funny to me how during the season, Giselle acts all big and bad. But in the reunion, she absolutely crumbles, and she's got no response to anything. The way that Candace was just shooting darts at her, and she wasn't even ducking and dodging to save herself. She was just sitting there taking it all. I'm like, what is the point, Giselle, of you constantly putting yourself through this type of torture every single season? Why do you do this? Nobody believes you and Robin and Ashley. We've all called you out for liars and manipulators. What is the point of even continuing with this? You must be a real glutton for punishment. So she says that Chris ended up apologizing to her. She says that Chris got into her DMs and he told her, if I had made you feel uncomfortable, I apologize. And so to her, that was Chris admitting to guilt and apologizing to her. Andy Cohen told her that's not really him admitting to anything, because he said, if I had made you feel uncomfortable, he apologized. I mean, he could have sneezed and made her feel uncomfortable. And he was like, hey, if my sneezing made you feel uncomfortable, I'm sorry. But it wasn't him admitting that he was trying to do anything inappropriate with her. Not at all. So she took it as, well, he's admitting that he was being inappropriate with me. No, Giselle, he wasn't admitting to that at all. He was admitting to, if his need to talk to you in private made you feel uncomfortable, he didn't mean for that to make you feel uncomfortable. So he was apologizing for that, not saying that, yes, I was preying on you, I was trying to do something inappropriate with you, and I'm sorry. Like, Giselle, what are you talking about? But we don't have enough time to break it down for her to understand. So let's just move on. The issue for Candace was not the fact that, Chris made Giselle feel uncomfortable. The issue for Candace was that Giselle waited until they began filming for the season to bring up her concerns with Chris. Because Candace had said there were several opportunities that you had to talk to me about this in private before we began filming away from the cameras. If it was a real concern for you that my husband was up to no good with you, you could have come to me directly. And in my personal opinion, and Cookie's personal opinion, she could have gone to HR as well if she felt like her coworker or her fellow castmate was doing something to her that was inappropriate. She could have gone to HR. She could have gone to Andy Cohen. She had several options, but instead she chooses to hold on to this information, wait until they begin filming, and then spill it all out on national television. So it's very, very calculated. Candace also had said to Giselle that the whole purpose of your life is to ruin other people's lives. You want to attack husbands, attack marriages, because you know nothing of a happy marriage. You know nothing of a man loving you, like truly, truly loving you and being there for you. So because you've never experienced that, you want to go around and you want to break up other people's relationships and marriages. So then she says, Giselle was like, well, I'm not the only one that talks about husbands. You talked about Michael. Okay, but Giselle, Michael actually did something and it was actually recorded and there were witnesses to what he did. You saying that Chris made you feel some kind of way, girl, that's your own personal opinion. No one is there to validate that. Like, what are you talking about? Whenever Candace talked about Michael Darby, it was because Michael Darby was definitely up to no good. He was violating other people on camera and he got charged for that and sued for that. Like, what are you talking about, Giselle? So and then Robin. Okay, let me bring you into this conversation, Miss Robin. So then Robin says how it was inappropriate for Chris, a married man, to want to talk alone with Giselle, a single woman. I don't understand the necessity of these gender roles, and these housewives, they like really stick by this. Like, I don't understand this whole thing about how, if you're a married woman and you say something to your castmate's husband, you say something about your castmate's husband, okay, you say something really horrible about them, and you yourself, you're a married woman. So instead of the husband talking to you directly about things that you directly said about them, that's not allowed. You have to have your husband address him. And if you're not a married woman and you have an issue with a male castmate, the male castmate's wife has to be the one to step in and address you, because you don't have a husband to defend you, so he can't talk to you directly. I don't understand these archaic gender roles that these housewives live by. Andy Cohen had said, Chris is an adult, Giselle's an adult. If you wanted to have a conversation with her, what was wrong with that? What does him being married and her being single have to do with anything? Robin, it makes no sense to me how you're hanging on to these very traditional gender role type things. You're saying how him being a married man had no right to talk to Giselle, a single woman, alone. Okay, but you were shacking up with your ex-husband for so many years. If you want to talk about traditional and following tradition, I'm not about that. So the fact that you were living with one unmarried, I really don't care. I saw nothing wrong with that. I think it should have stayed that way. But you're going on and on about gender roles and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. You were shacking up with your ex-husband for Lord knows how many years. Your ex-husband and your current husband has been unfaithful to you, has cheated on you, and you see nothing wrong with that because you still married the man. So what about that? That's very untraditional for a man to cheat on the woman that he loves. And girl, anyways, I can't with Robin. I absolutely cannot with Robin. Like, I can't. Anywho, So luckily, back to Candace. Candace has 6 embryos that they have frozen. So hopefully, her dream of becoming a mother will come true very, very soon. And then when she was addressing Giselle, she talked about her dwindling uterus. I was like, oh my God, Candace, what does her dwindling uterus have to do with anything? What did her dwindling uterus ever do to you, Candace? But it was funny as hell. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, do not forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.